component parts of basically a uni-tube setup. I call it a uni-tube because this comp tube, which is 22mm, will work on a TX, but it'll also work on a Pro Sport. They do have anti-bear trap notches, and the next version will go back to a previous design where I had them spaced further apart and you only see one, but on this one you see two. But anyway, so this one will work in a TX200, and the cocking shoe goes there, or it'll work on a Pro Sport. So down inside there is the brass transfer port, which can be teased out. That's separate to the nose, and you must never send a drill through this to open the port up. You tease that port out, and then you can drill this out, and if you need to, if you go too big, you can solder that up because it's brass and then re-drill again. But the hole behind this, the actual hole in this end plug, is larger than that hole, and there's flow enhancement built into the end plug for the air, which if you drill that, you ruin that flow enhancement. It takes one BS 108 O-ring as a breech seal, but it also has another O-ring, which I don't know if you can see there, which sits within the body. So there's a groove in this end plug on the inside, and there's another O-ring that sits inside there that seals over the end of the barrel. Now it depends on Air Arms' tolerances on that machining, but that normally is a good backup seal. So there's actually two seals on the comp tube. Now these comp tubes are precision honed, so this is perfectly round and it's consistent from top to bottom. Now sometimes you'll see there's some slight defects in the honing. I make sure that from around this distance to the inside face of the end plug, so from around here to here, is perfect. There might be, with heat treatment, there might be a slight defect on the inside here, and then there's normally some up here. They don't matter. It doesn't compress air up there. So from around here down, they're perfect. So that's what I call a uni tube. This is my new, well, it's not new, the full piston setup. Takes the same seal as normal, but obviously things are a little bit different with this one because it's a full piston, as you see. So this takes a standard top hat like most people are used to, although I do polish it, and it also takes on the end, which this one hasn't got one in because it's inside the piston, it takes a slip washer, which is 1mm thick hardened steel slip washer. This is so that this top hat doesn't batter that piston. It spins on the slip washer. So that goes together there, and then my steel guide again, which is basically 3 parts. You have your main tube, and then there's a hardened steel washer that sits on that main tube, like so. And then another slip washer. This can vary in thickness because obviously you can change this for a 2. This is a 1mm. You could change it for a 2mm, or you could add two 2mm, or you could add a 2mm and a 1mm. But you need to have at least that 1mm slip washer on there. That holds everything together. And then obviously that feeds into the spring. My jumper's not in the way. Now it is steel, and the spring is steel, so you might hear a slight noise. This needs greasing on the outside, but, and this is most important, you don't get grease on the rod, and you don't get grease on the inside of this guide. They have to run dry. If you get grease inside there and on that rod, it will cause suction, and it will actually kill velocity. It will knock 80 to 100 feet per second off the best way to run these is absolutely bone dry. If needs must, you can dry lube the inside of that with tungsten disulfide or maybe moly powder, but only a tiny, tiny, tiny amount. Too much lube, the tolerance fit on this tube to that rod is that tight that it's better just to run it dry. Just keep it clean and run it dry. So, they're the components. Really low friction setup, no effort at all. So, beautiful.